The first step to creating wealth. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine that, when you wake up tomorrow, your financial life is exactly as you've always dreamed. The money is in the bank, the bills are paid, opportunities come easily. Feel the relief, the security, the freedom. Now, open your eyes and ask yourself, what separates you from this reality? Joe Dispenza would answer that it's not time nor luck, but your mental and emotional state today. It reminds us that your life is always a reflection of what you repeatedly think and feel. If the pattern is one of worry and insecurity, your body and brain will work to recreate more of the same. But if you change the state now, you begin sending new signals to your nervous system and the field around you, and your reality begins to shift. Throughout this video, we'll walk together through the path to creating a prosperous financial life from within. We'll discuss clarity, visualization, discipline, immediate action, accurate references, and persistence until the evidence arrives. All based on Joe Dispenza's teachings, so you'll understand, in a practical way, how to reprogram your mind and body for success. But it's important for you to know, understanding isn't enough, you have to apply it. And this process requires daily commitment, even when circumstances haven't changed. It's during this time that the invisible magic happens, when you begin living as the person you want to be, before the world confirms it. If you feel the time has come to break patterns and create your own financial reality, subscribe to this channel now. Only those ready to take action on their future follow this space, because they know that living as a creator requires resilience and determination. Get ready, because in the next few minutes you'll discover that wealth isn't something you chase, but something you become. And when that happens, money becomes an inevitable consequence. So, let's get started. Chapter 1, Where Wealth Really Begins. Joe Dispenza teaches that your outer life is a direct reflection of the emotional memories and mental patterns you repeat daily. If your financial reality today is one of scarcity, it's because your mind and body are conditioned to recreate that same experience. He explains that every morning upon waking, most people begin to think about yesterday's problems, feel the same emotions, and, without realizing it, schedule more of the same for the day. Thus, the future becomes a predictable copy of the past. To change this cycle, Dispenza argues that you need to break the automatic pattern. This means interrupting the sequence of thoughts and emotions that keep you trapped in a reality you no longer desire. The brain, he says, doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's intensely imagined. So when you start mentally creating the financial life you desire, with all the details and emotions, you're literally reprogramming your neural connections. He describes this process as thinking bigger than your surroundings. It doesn't matter what your current account balance is, what matters is how you're training your brain to think and feel. If you wake up every day and mentally connect with the version of yourself that lives with financial stability, your body begins to respond to this new reality as if it were already true. This coherence between thought and emotion is the key to change. Dispenza also emphasizes that the body is like the unconscious mind. It gets used to feeling certain emotions, such as fear, anxiety, or insecurity, and begins to seek them out like a chemical addiction. This is why, even when opportunities arise, many people reject them because they don't align with the emotional state the body knows. To create wealth, it's necessary to teach the body new emotions, such as trust, gratitude, and enthusiasm. The training begins in silence. Joe suggests daily meditation practices in which you stop identifying with your old thoughts and begin to observe yourself. In this pause, you have the opportunity to choose new thoughts and feelings. It is in this moment that you begin to plant the seed of a new financial identity, no longer based on fear, but on conscious creation. Over time, this practice creates a new internal program. You begin to think and feel like someone who already lives the reality you desire. Your body learns to behave according to this new vibration, and your financial decisions begin to reflect it. It is at this point that actions consistent with abundance become natural and automatic. For Dispenza, wealth begins in the mind because that's where you can rehearse, repeat, and mentally experience the future you desire. The more you train this state, the more your brain and body align with this new version of yourself. And when this internal shift is consistent, the external world inevitably responds. Chapter 2, Creating the Right Financial Identity. Joe Dispenza teaches that to change your life, you need to change who you are now. Identity isn't fixed, it's shaped by the thoughts you repeat and the emotions you feel every day. If you see yourself as financially limited, your brain and body will work to confirm that image, creating decisions, behaviors, and opportunities that sustain that state. To transform your reality, you need to create a new version of yourself before the external world changes. He explains that this new identity begins with a clear vision. It's necessary to define, in detail, who you want to be, how you think, how you feel, how you act, what decisions you make, and what results you're already reaping. By visualizing this person with richness and confidence, your brain activates the same areas that would be activated if you were actually living that life. This is mental and emotional training. Dispenza emphasizes that it's not enough to think about your desired future in the distant future. You need to feel it as if it were already real. When you are deeply moved by the image of your abundant self, your body begins to register this experience as truth. It's the marriage of clear intention and heightened emotion that reprograms the subconscious mind. He calls this rehearsing the future. Every day, take a few minutes to enter the mental and emotional state of this new identity. Imagine yourself making smart financial decisions, closing deals, investing safely, paying bills with ease. Feel the relief, joy, and confidence as if this were already your real life. This practice is what teaches your body to accept and adapt to this new pattern. With repetition, your brain begins to create new synaptic connections and weaken old circuits linked to scarcity. Your body stops seeking out emotions of fear and insecurity and begins to recognize trust and gratitude as familiar states. This internal shift creates a new realm of possibilities. Dispenza asserts that once this identity is solidified, you automatically begin to act in a way that's consistent with it. Smarter financial choices become natural, not forced. You begin to attract situations and people that resonate with who you are, not just what you desire. That's why he says, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. Creating the right financial identity isn't a one-time act, it's a daily commitment. Every time you behave like your future self, you're affirming to your brain and body that this is the new reality. And when this message is clear and consistent, your external life inevitably adjusts to match who you already are on the inside. Chapter 3: Absolute Financial Clarity. Joe Dispenza teaches that the subconscious mind responds better to specific instructions than to vague intentions. When you want to have more money without setting a specific amount or deadline, your brain doesn't have a clear target to create new connections and guide your body toward. Clarity is direction. It's like programming a GPS. Without a set address, you can drive all day and get nowhere. He explains that, at a neurological level, the brain works by creating internal models of reality. The more detailed the model, the easier it will be for your nervous system to identify opportunities in the external environment that fit it. So, instead of saying, "I want to be rich," ask yourself, exactly how much do I want to earn per month? How quickly? How? And, most importantly, how will I feel when I get there? For Dispenza, rational clarity isn't enough, emotional clarity is necessary. This is where many people go wrong. They set cold financial goals, disconnected from what truly inspires them. What will keep you disciplined on difficult days is feeling, in advance, the freedom, security, and joy that this result will bring. Without this heightened emotion, the goal gets lost in the routine. During your visualization practices, Joe suggests that you don't just see numbers on a screen, but mentally experience the money you'll create. Imagine trips, homes, donations, investments, and conversations with family about new possibilities. When you connect visual and sensory details, your brain registers the experience as real and begins to create pathways to reproduce it. Clarity also means consistency. Sporadic reminders of the goal aren't enough to reprogram the subconscious. Dispenza advises keeping the vision alive every day, reinforcing not only the details of the goal but also the associated emotions. It's this repetition that replaces old patterns and creates new, automatic habits. Another key point is aligning daily decisions with this clarity. If your goal is to build wealth, every purchase, every investment, and every conversation about money should be consistent with this direction. According to Dispenza, inconsistency between what you think and what you do sends confusing signals to the brain, making it difficult to establish the new pattern. Absolute financial clarity isn't just about knowing where you're going, it's about living, feeling, and acting as if you're already on your way. The more specific and emotionally connected you are to your goal, the faster your brain and body will align to transform that vision into reality. Chapter 4: The Mental Image of Wealth. Joe Dispenza claims that your mind is a laboratory where you can rehearse the future before it happens. By creating a vivid mental image of yourself living in prosperity, you are activating the same neural networks in your brain that would be stimulated if the experience were real. This practice is not fantasy, it is neurological training that prepares the body to react consistently with the desired outcome. He explains that imagination is a tool for transformation because the brain doesn't clearly differentiate between what is experienced and what is deeply imagined. When you see yourself signing lucrative contracts, investing safely, or moving into your dream home, your body releases chemicals corresponding to these experiences, creating a new emotional signature. For this mental image to work, it's essential to surround it with heightened emotion. Dispenza emphasizes that clear intention without emotion doesn't change your internal state. It's like planting a seed without water. When you visualize wealth with feelings of gratitude, enthusiasm, and confidence, you send a stronger signal to your nervous system and the field around you. It's this coherence between thought and emotion that attracts compatible experiences. He also recommends that visualization be detailed and sensory. Don't limit yourself to seeing static images, feel textures, perceive smells, hear sounds. See yourself swiping your card without worry, transferring funds for investments, closing deals with confidence. Each detail reinforces in the brain the feeling that this is already happening, strengthening the neural pattern. Another important point is repetition. A single visualization may generate momentary enthusiasm, but it doesn't change old patterns. Dispenza teaches that daily practice strengthens neural connections and weakens circuits linked to scarcity. Over time, thinking about abundance becomes as natural as breathing. He warns that, during the process, the old body and mind will try to resist. Thoughts of doubt or fear may arise. At this point, the practice is to remain in the emotional state of your new reality, even if the external environment doesn't yet reflect it. This persistence is what reprograms the subconscious. Creating the mental image of wealth is, therefore, more than just imagining money, it's internally creating the full experience of living in abundance. The more familiar this image becomes to your brain and body, the more the external world is shaped to align with it. Chapter 5: Discipline is the standard, not the exception. Joe Dispenza teaches that real change doesn't happen when you act only on your motivational days, but when you decide to maintain a practice even on ordinary or difficult days. In the financial context, this means that the habits that sustain prosperity need to become a natural part of your being. When you practice discipline daily, you're training your brain and body to operate in a new pattern, regardless of external circumstances. He explains that the conscious mind can decide to change, but it's the subconscious stored in the body that determines most of your actions. This is why so many people start a financial plan and give up after a few weeks. The body is still programmed to seek immediate gratification and avoid effort. Discipline reprograms this automatic response. Dispenza argues that every time you choose to act on your financial goal, even when it's uncomfortable, you're sending your brain the message that a new you is in charge. These consistent choices strengthen neural connections associated with abundance and weaken old circuits linked to scarcity and fear. In everyday life, this discipline might mean reviewing your budget weekly, investing a fixed percentage of your income, saying no to impulse purchases, or studying finance even when you'd rather be doing something else. With each repetition, your body learns that this is the new pattern. Over time, these actions no longer require conscious effort and become automatic. Dispenza also warns that discipline shouldn't be associated with suffering, but with freedom. When you maintain habits that strengthen your financial life, you're not depriving yourself, you're training yourself to be the conscious creator of your reality. This shift in perspective helps sustain the habit in the long run. Another crucial point is self-accountability. With every choice, you are shaping who you will be tomorrow. If the old pattern tries to return, use your awareness to break the cycle and reaffirm your decision to live according to your desired future. This is when discipline becomes identity. For Dispenza, discipline as a standard means you no longer depend on external conditions to act. You act because you are already the person living the life you desire. And when this becomes natural, prosperity ceases to be a distant goal and becomes the inevitable consequence of who you have become. Chapter 6: From Lack to Creation. Joe Dispenza argues that most people live trapped in a cycle where thoughts and emotions are defined by what's missing. When you wake up and immediately connect with worry about debt or anxiety about what you haven't yet achieved, you're telling your brain and body that scarcity is the natural state. And the body, like the unconscious mind, reproduces the same chemistry day after day, keeping reality exactly the same. He explains that as long as your focus is on what doesn't exist, your brain will continue searching for signs that confirm its absence. It's as if your attention were a spotlight, illuminating only the evidence of what you fear. To change this pattern, you need to shift your attention to creation, that is, to what you desire to experience. This is the point at which you stop being a victim of circumstances and become the author of your own reality. Dispenza teaches that creating requires combining a clear intention with a heightened emotion. This means not only deciding what you want financially, but also feeling, in advance, the emotions of having already achieved that state. By practicing this, you are installing in your body the emotional memory of your desired future. And the body, recognizing this feeling, begins to produce compatible responses, influencing your choices and actions. The first step to moving from lack to creation is becoming aware of when you're reinforcing scarcity. This could be by complaining about bills, comparing yourself to others, or mentally repeating that you can't afford something. These moments are signs that the old program is active. Change begins by interrupting this internal dialogue and replacing it with questions like, how can I generate resources for this, or what can I learn today to get closer to my goal? With repetition, this new attitude becomes stronger. The brain begins to create different associations, and the body becomes accustomed to the chemistry of trust, curiosity, and possibility. Dispenza emphasizes that it's not about denying the current reality, but about not letting it control your vision of the future. Focusing on creation opens up opportunities that previously went unnoticed. He also reminds us that change requires persistence, as the body will try to return to the familiar state of lack. This is when mental and emotional training becomes crucial. Maintaining a state of creation, even without immediate evidence, is what signals to your brain that this is the new reality to be consolidated. For Dispenza, living in creation is living in control. It's having clarity about what you want, feeling it as real, and acting on that vision every day. When energy stops being invested in lamenting what's missing and starts being used to create what you desire, your financial life begins to respond in surprising ways. Chapter 7: The Power of Immediate Action. Joe Dispenza teaches that there is no true change without coherent action. Thinking and feeling differently is essential, but it's behavior that confirms to the brain and body that a new pattern is truly underway. In the financial field, this means that every step, no matter how small, is an opportunity to reinforce the identity you want to consolidate. He explains that when you act on your vision of the future, you're teaching your body that this reality has already begun. This changes your internal chemistry and strengthens the neural connections that support your new self. Therefore, waiting until you feel ready is a mistake. It's precisely action that generates the feeling of readiness, not the other way around. Dispenza points out that a mind conditioned by the past will always seek to postpone decisions. This is the body's attempt to maintain the familiar state. However, when you decide to act immediately, whether by initiating an investment, studying finance, or closing a deal, you are breaking predictability and signaling that the new is in charge. At first, immediate action may feel uncomfortable, as it challenges old emotional patterns. But this is where change happens. Each time you take action before expecting guarantees, you strengthen your confidence and reduce the influence of old neural circuits. This not only changes your internal state but also increases the likelihood of attracting new external opportunities. Joe explains that the brain needs experiences to solidify new patterns. Visualizing wealth is powerful, but when you act like someone prosperous, controlling spending, increasing income sources, closing deals, you provide your brain and body with concrete proof of that identity. This accelerates transformation and strengthens the creative state. Another important point is that action doesn't need to be grand to be effective. Small, consistent steps have more impact than large, isolated changes. What matters is that each action is aligned with the future you desire, reinforcing the message daily, I am already this person. For Dispenza, the power of immediate action is that it breaks the cycle of waiting to live. It brings the future into the present and transforms desire into experience. The more you move from your future self, the faster the external world reorganizes itself to match who you've already decided to be. Chapter 8: Cutting Out Financial Distractions. Joe Dispenza teaches that energy follows attention. Everything you feed with thoughts and emotions grows in your life. In the financial context, this means that every time your attention is distracted by stimuli that aren't aligned with your goal, you're diverting energy from creating the reality you desire. Cutting out distractions isn't just a matter of productivity, it's a matter of consistency between who you want to be and what you do daily. He explains that neurologically, every time you engage in habits that don't support your goal, you're reinforcing the circuits of the past. Impulse purchases, excessive consumption of irrelevant information, or constant comparisons with other people's financial lives activate emotions that keep you stuck in the old pattern. Change begins when you become aware of these triggers and decide to redirect your attention. For Dispenza, distractions aren't neutral, they carry an energetic and emotional cost. Every time you invest time and focus in something that doesn't bring you closer to your goal, you're reducing the time and energy available to create your desired future. It's like trying to fill up a car for a long trip while letting the tank leak. He recommends that you carefully observe your days. Ask yourself, does this action bring me closer or further away from my financial goal? By answering honestly, you begin to filter out commitments, habits, and even conversations that aren't aligned with your purpose. This doesn't mean living in isolation, but living selectively, with focus and intention. Dispenza also reminds us that eliminating distractions requires emotional discipline. We often use distractions to avoid the discomfort of managing our finances consciously. By recognizing this pattern, you can replace it with aligned actions, such as studying investments, planning your budget, or visualizing your goal with clarity and emotion. Another point is that when you eliminate distractions, you create mental space for ideas and opportunities to emerge. Silence and focused attention activate areas in the brain responsible for insights and creative solutions. This is proof that by eliminating the excess, you make way for the essential. For Joe Dispenza, living without distractions means living in coherence. It's choosing, every day, to feed only what resonates with the financial life you want to create. By mastering your attention, you become the true architect of your reality. Chapter 9, Surrounding Yourself with the Right References. Joe Dispenza teaches that your environment directly influences your mental and emotional state, and therefore, your ability to create new realities. This means that the people you associate with, the information you consume, and the places you frequent shape your thoughts and emotions. In the financial field, surrounding yourself with the right references is essential to keeping your brain and body aligned with the prosperous identity you want to consolidate. He explains that neurologically, you mirror the behaviors and emotions of those around you through mirror neurons. If you constantly spend time with people who live in poverty, complain about money, and have harmful financial habits, your brain tends to reproduce these patterns. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with people who think and act with prosperity in mind, you begin to naturally absorb this mindset. For Dispenza, the right role models aren't limited to people, but also include content, experiences, and environments. Books, courses, videos, and communities aligned with growth and abundance act as stimuli that reprogram your mind. The more you expose yourself to examples of success and financial discipline, the more your brain reinforces that this is the pattern you should follow. He suggests being selective about what you consume. Ask yourself, is what I'm watching, listening to, or reading right now bringing me closer to the financial identity I desire? If the answer is no, consider changing the source. This conscious selection helps maintain focus and emotional consistency. Dispenza also emphasizes that the right references evoke heightened emotions. When you hear a story of financial overcoming or see someone achieving economic freedom, feel it as if it were possible for you. This emotion associated with the reference creates an energetic signature that attracts similar experiences. Another point is that surrounding yourself with good role models increases your perception of opportunities. When you spend time with people who are already on the path you want, you begin to identify patterns, decisions, and strategies that you can apply in your own life. The brain learns through imitation and repetition, accelerating its development. For Joe Dispenza, choosing the right references is choosing the energetic field in which you want to live. When you surround yourself with people and information that support the vision of abundance, you are telling the universe and yourself that you are ready to enter this frequency. And in this state, prosperity becomes not only possible, but inevitable. Chapter 10, Persistence until the evidence arrives. Joe Dispenza teaches that creating a new reality requires maintaining the vision and emotional state you desire even when there are no concrete signs in the external world. He calls this living beyond the evidence, acting and feeling as if the result is already real before you can see it physically. It's in this interval between intention and manifestation that the deepest transformation occurs. According to him, this persistence is a mental and emotional training. When you repeat daily the state of your future self, the brain strengthens neural connections associated with that identity, and the body begins to get used to the chemistry of this new reality. It's like installing a new program that will keep running until it becomes the dominant pattern. The challenge is that the old self will always try to pull you back. Thoughts of doubt, old emotions, and automatic habits will arise to test your decision. Dispenza explains that these moments are not signs to stop, but opportunities to reinforce the new state. Every time you choose to remain in the vision, you are weakening the past and strengthening the future. Persistence is not passive waiting, it is acting in alignment with your goal even without evidence. This means continuing to make smart choices about money, studying, investing, and maintaining discipline even when the results are not yet visible. It is this consistency that keeps energy focused and creates the foundation for a quantum leap in your financial life. He also reminds us that in this process, it is common for the external environment to seem to challenge your new posture. In these moments, the training is to remain in the creative state, sustaining emotions of confidence, gratitude, and enthusiasm. This alignment sends a clear message to the field around you that this is your new reality. Over time, persistence becomes identity. You stop trying to be prosperous and simply live as such. That's when the external world begins to reorganize itself to reflect what you already are internally. And when the evidence finally appears, it will not be perceived as an unexpected miracle, but as the natural consequence of a sustained decision. At that point, you will have built not only wealth but also the ability to create any reality you choose. Chapter 11, Embodying the Future Self Now. Joe Dispenza teaches that the fastest way to close the gap between where you are and where you want to be is to begin living as your future self today. Most people wait for the external world to give them permission to feel successful, abundant, or secure. But the creative process works in reverse. You must feel it first, act from it now, and allow the physical world to catch up. He explains that your brain and body are like sophisticated recording devices. Every thought you think and every emotion you feel sends signals to your biology, training it to expect and reproduce those states. If you keep feeling the lack, the body memorizes scarcity. If you train it to feel wealth, gratitude, and confidence now, it will begin to operate from that future state automatically. To embody your future self, you must first define exactly who that person is. How do they think about money? How do they make decisions? How do they respond to challenges? Dispenza suggests visualizing yourself in daily situations, making wise investments, negotiating deals, or generously supporting causes you believe in, and fully feeling the emotions connected to those actions. The more you practice this mental and emotional rehearsal, the more familiar it becomes. Your brain starts to wire the future into the present, and your body adopts the chemistry of that new reality. Eventually, this state stops feeling like imagination and starts feeling like your new normal. Joe warns that your old self will try to interrupt this process with doubts and past emotions. This is when awareness is key. Each time you notice yourself slipping into old patterns, pause, realign with your vision, and choose thoughts and actions consistent with your future self. Over time, this reconditioning becomes effortless. By living as your future self now, you signal to the field around you that this is already who you are. You are no longer chasing the goal, you are radiating the energy of someone who has already achieved it. The external world then begins to reorganize to reflect your new identity. And this is where the magic of creation accelerates. You start to notice opportunities appearing more often, synchronicities lining up, and results showing up in unexpected ways, not because you got lucky, but because you finally became the version of you who could receive them. Chapter 12, Living in the Energy of Gratitude. Joe Dispenza teaches that gratitude is not just a pleasant emotion, it is a state of being that signals completion to your brain and body. When you feel genuine gratitude for something that has not yet appeared in your physical reality, you are telling your subconscious that it is already yours. This is one of the most powerful ways to accelerate the manifestation of your financial goals. He explains that gratitude creates a state of coherence between the heart and brain. In this state, your nervous system sends harmonious signals throughout the body, optimizing both mental clarity and emotional stability. From this place, your decisions become more aligned, your creativity expands, and your actions are infused with confidence rather than fear. Practicing gratitude for your future wealth is a way of anchoring yourself in the reality you are creating. Instead of waiting for the external world to deliver results before feeling grateful, you choose to embody that feeling now. The body then begins to believe that the event has already occurred, triggering the same biological responses as if it were true. Dispenza encourages starting each day with a gratitude practice that includes your future financial successes. Imagine checking your account balance and seeing the exact amount you desire, closing a deal that changes your life, or living debt-free. As you visualize, flood your body with the emotion of gratitude as if it were already happening. This daily practice does more than reprogram your subconscious, it changes how you interact with the world. You begin to notice more opportunities, treat challenges as temporary, and carry an energy that attracts people and situations aligned with your goals. Gratitude becomes the magnet for everything you want to create. He also warns that gratitude is not passive. It must be paired with consistent action. The combination of a grateful state and aligned behavior sends a powerful message to both your internal system and the quantum field: this is who I am, and this is the life I choose. The field responds accordingly. By living in the energy of gratitude, you are no longer waiting for the right moment to feel fulfilled, you are creating it now. And when your internal state reflects the life you want, it's only a matter of time before your external world mirrors it back to you in ways that feel almost miraculous. Conclusion: transformation begins and ends with you. Throughout each chapter, you've seen that creating wealth isn't just about external strategies, but about profound internal transformation. Joe Dispenza shows us that your mental and emotional state is the starting point for any achievement. When you change who you are in the present, you shift the field of possibilities and open space for a new financial reality to manifest. It's not about waiting for the world to change and then feeling different. It's about feeling the life you want now, acting on that vision, and sustaining that consistency until the external world responds. This is the essence of living as a creator, not a victim of circumstances. You've learned that clarity directs, visualization shapes, discipline sustains, immediate action drives, accurate references strengthen, and persistence ensures the process continues until results appear. Each of these elements, when applied consistently, builds not only wealth but also an identity capable of maintaining and expanding it. Joe Dispenza reminds us that your body and mind are always learning from what you repeat. This means that every day, you're training for something, to repeat the past or to create the future. And that choice is made in the small decisions you make, the emotions you cultivate, and the vision you keep alive. If you've made it this far, you've already taken a step most don't, dedicating time to understanding how to create your own reality. Now is the time to put it into practice. Start today, even with simple actions, but do them in a way that's consistent with your future self. Transformation doesn't happen from the outside in, it happens from the inside out. When you become the person who lives the reality you desire, the universe has no choice but to respond. And when it does, you'll know you built it, thought by thought, emotion by emotion, action by action. If you're committed to this change, follow this channel to continue receiving content that deepens this process and strengthens your journey. And to show that you're ready to live as the creator of your reality, comment below, coherence. This will be your public declaration that you will live in alignment with the life you want to create.